I'm Brad Auerbach. I work at Hewlett-Packard in the digital content services. I work specifically in business development. What we're doing is a combination of things involving manufacture-on-demand DVDs. We're also moving into mass personalization in a way that allows consumers to begin to determine what they want to have in terms of content, perhaps mixing in some of their content with existing licensed content or more specifically customized for that particular consumer. Well, the idea is that consumers over the recent years have become more and more in control of what they're consuming, when they're consuming it, and how they're consuming it. And I think this works across all product categories, but with our specific focus on content and media and entertainment, the idea being that the consumer may have a desire to have content in a way that's unique to them. And it could be an example where someone has gone with their family on their first kids' trip to Legoland, and they come out of their day at Legoland with their own pictures, their own video, and maybe on the way out they could have bought the DVD that was there in the gift shop that's the sort of canned, professionally made DVD. The idea that we're thinking about is, what if you begin to put all that together so that you come out of the day at Legoland with your day at Legoland? And that's something that we're looking at. It's just one example of many, many different examples that could be out there. Hewlett-Packard has a great history of printing, certainly. We're also innovating in the DVD space for video, so the output could be in printed form, it could be in a disc form, it could be some combination of that. One of the ones that's primarily getting traction that we've been working on lately is manufacturing on demand. The current way that DVDs are put into the marketplace has a certain amount of friction built in, where the content provider and the distributors have to make a decision as to how many units they will replicate and put into the marketplace. If they guess too low, they're leaving money on the table. If they guess too high, they have returns and a lot of inventory issues. If we're able to, and we are, allow those content providers and distributors to order on demand in batches that are much more attuned to the consumer demand for those titles, we take away the friction and nothing is manufactured essentially until it's ordered and paid for. So the manufacture-on-demand initiative that we're involved in begins to solve those problems, and that's what's been giving us a lot of traction within the Hollywood community. Well, one of the things we think it's going to do is, because it's going to unlock assets and value that content providers have, we think that it's going to help them. We certainly play a role in the middle of allowing those content providers a means by which to bring out from their vaults an amount of content that probably hadn't seen the light of day in a while because there's no perceived demand for it. Or it may be that it's high-value current content that is now being offered to the consumer in a way that's more specific and personal to them, and hence the demand rises. Everyone in the supply chain, in the food chain, begins to benefit from the consumer right all the way back to the content provider. And we'll be in the middle, not as any kind of toll booth and taking heavy fees back and forth. We will be an enabler to allow the creative community and the consumer to get closer and be married into a way that allows for new delivery, new exploitation of this content. There are certainly issues related to standards that have been established, for instance, regarding DVD. There's copy protection issues that go along with that. Any kind of copy protection essentially gets hacked almost upon introduction to the marketplace. At Hewlett-Packard, we respect the intellectual property issues of our partners in the content world. We do everything we can to provide them all the content protection that they're looking for and need. We're involved across myriad standard-setting organizations, so we fly the flag very proudly about intellectual property recognition and protection. And we're moving in leaps and bounds. Some people will call it Web 2.0, some people will call it mass personalization. Others on the other end of the spectrum may call it mashups, but we prefer Web 2.0 or mass personalization, mass customization. We believe the web is opening up so many opportunities, and this goes back to something that was said earlier, the idea that the consumer now is understanding that they have more control. They have more control in going out and finding what they want, when they want it, less beholden to the fascist network TV programmers of days gone by. And if we can collectively, as an industry, allow the consumer to get that content when they want it in a legitimate way, That's an important component of it. So the idea that the consumer begins to make decisions as to what he's wanting, and he may want to keep it in a form that may not be exactly the way the content provider delivered it, but if we do our job right at Hewlett-Packard and enable the consumer to be using that content in a way that works from the content provider's perspective, then it's a positive for all of those concerned. That's the first step in the whole idea of the mass personalization idea. There are billions and billions of pages that are printed each day. Hewlett-Packard has a pretty nice share of those pages, and to the extent that those pages now are often being printed from websites, the idea of making sure that when it comes off of the printed page, it's actually something that's viable and useful, in a format that works. And again, it's because the consumer wants it in that way, and we at HP are looking to enable that consumer empowerment.